Welcome to our video on comparing data. We'll be determining measures of centre and spread from graphs today. First, let's look at how we can find the mean, the median, the mode and the range when data is displayed in a graph. We're going to be focusing at the moment on a dot plot which gives the ages of students studying mathematics during their first year at university. We're going to have a look at this dot plot, and from that dot plot we're going to try and determine some measures of centre, and by this we mean the mean, the median and the mode. Now firstly, we know that the mean is the average of all of these values, and from this dot plot over here we can see that we have values such as 16 and then moving right we have no 17s, we have 18s, etc. I'm going to keep filling this out, and now you can see we've got all of those values listed, and because we're finding the mean we'll add them all up and then we'll divide them by how many numbers there are, which in this case is 12. We can then grab our calculator quite quickly, work out the total of these values, which is 231, and divide that by 12, and we'll find that our mean is 19.25 or 19 1/4. Now our median is the middle value. We can find this in two ways. We can look at our dot plot. Given that we have 12 values, our median value will be in the middle of the 6th and 7th value. So just having a look at our 6th and 7th values over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's in between these 2 points here, which both happen to be 19. And the middle of 19 and 19, of course, is 19. We could have also used our ordered list up here from the mean to help us to find the 2 middle points, which of course again is in between the 6th and 7th values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, which also shows us that the median is the middle of 19 and 19, which again is 19. Now the mode, of course, is the value which happens the most, and we can see this pretty easily from our dot plot. The mode also happens to be 19. Now we're going to have a look at our measure of spread, which is another way of saying that we're going to find the range, and the range of course for this is our highest value, which is 24, take away our smallest value, which is 16. So our range for this data is 8. Now you don't need to write this down, we're just having a look at how we can find measures of centre and spread from a graph. Now for this unit, not only do we need to know how to calculate the mean, median, mode and range, we also need to understand what those things are telling us. So we might be asked, for example, to write a paragraph which describes our findings. Now I've just written up here a reminder of what the mean, the median, the mode and the range were for that particular dot plot. So let's look at some possible answers that we could have in our paragraph, or some discussion points. Firstly, for this data, the mean, the median and the mode are all extremely close, so any of these 3 values could be used to give a good picture of what we call the centre of this data. This could be summed up by saying that first year mathematics university students tend to be about 19 years old, which makes sense given that they've just finished their VCE, perhaps in year 12, and they're about 19 when they go to university. The range of 8 is quite interesting, as it does indicate that there is an 8-year age gap between the youngest and the oldest students studying maths at uni. Now the 24-year-old may not be too surprising. You may know of some students yourself who have worked or travelled for a few years before they head off to university. However, the 16-year-old, this is an extremely young person to be studying first year university mathematics, and it probably indicates that he or she is very advanced for their age. Perhaps they've been accelerated through their maths program at their school so that they can study university maths at a very young age. Something else to note, these 2 values, the 16 and the 24, could be considered to be what we call outliers, as they are not typical of the rest of the data. They are quite different to the rest of the data. And interestingly, the 24-year-old and the 16-year-old tend to cancel out the effect of each other when we are calculating values like the mean and the median. Okay, so there's an example of a paragraph that we could write which describes our findings. Now we're going to have a look at some data that's displayed on a stem and leaf plot. This stem plot below indicates the amount of pocket money a number of 15-year-olds earn through jobs or pocket money each week. Now, as you can see, we've got a key up here that says 1/5 represents $15 per week. We're going to use this stem and leaf plot to determine the mean, the median and the mode of the data, and then later on we're going to comment on the most suitable centre for the data. Okay, so let's begin by finding the mean of this data. And of course the mean is adding all of these values up. So let's go through one by one and have a look. We've got a $3, a $5 and $9. In our next row in the stem and leaf plot we've got $15 and $18. In the next row we've got $25. And in the final row we've got 3 lots of $30 and a $35. Now remember, for the mean we need to add all of these up and then divide by how many values there are, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Remembering that each leaf on our stem and leaf plot represents one piece of data or one person's money that they're earning. So I'm going to grab my calculator quickly, add these values up, and we find that it adds up to $200, which when we divide by 10 gives us a mean or average of $20. Now let's have a look at the median, and remember the median is the middle value. We have 10 results here, so we're going to actually have 2 middle values, so we need to find what's the middle of the 5th and 6th value. So I can find that from my stem and leaf plot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 5th value, 18, and my 6th value, which is 25. So the median of this data is the middle of 18 and 25. And to find the middle of those two numbers, we average them. We add them together, which of course is 43 divided by 2, and we find out that the median value is $21.50. The mode, we can also see quite clearly from this data, is the one that happens the most, which is of course these 3 30s up here. So the mode is $30. Now we're also going to have a look, just out of interest, at the range, which we can write over here. And we know that the range is the highest value, which is 35, minus the lowest value, which is 3 in this case. So we have a range of $32. Right, now because we've got our little guy up here telling us to write this down, that's what you need to do. So let's pause the video so that you can write this information down. Now of course we were asked also to comment on the most suitable centre for the data, so let's have a look at what we might jot down for that. In this particular case the mean was $20 and the median was $21.50, and these values are really quite close, so either of these measures could be used to represent what we call the measure of the centre of the data. In this question, the range, which was 32, indicates the spread of the data, but it does not give us any indication of the centre of the data. Again, let's pause so that you can jot that down. Alright, now we're going to have a look at how the previous example would be altered slightly if we add one more piece of data to that list. So a question at the top here is, how would the results differ if a 15-year-old apprentice earning $300 per week was added to the data? So we have the same data, or the same stem and leaf plot as before, but we've got one new piece of data being added, and that's 300, which we can write like this at the bottom of our stem and leaf plot, representing $300. So we're going to go off and find the mean, the median, the mode, the range again, and have a look at how these results have differed. So the mean, we know, is adding all of these values up and then dividing by how many we are. So we're going to use a bit of a technique that will cut down our time. We've already added up these first 10 values on the previous slide and found out that they added up to 200. And now we're just going to add in our final amount, which was 300. And how many results are we dividing by? We've got 11 results up there. So we need to work out what 500 divided by 11 is. You can grab your calculator, and we find that we have a new mean of $45.45. The median is the middle value. We have a different number now. We've got 11 values, so we're looking for the 6th value to be the middle value. So let's count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our middle value here is the 5, which represents $25. Our mode, we're still looking for the values which have occurred the most. That has remained unchanged. Still these 3 30s up here. So the mode is still 30, and the range this time, highest minus lowest, is a whopping big $297. Okay, if you can jot those calculations down now, that would be great. So now we have two sets of results. We've got means, medians, modes and ranges to compare and to discuss. So if we've been asked to discuss how this one new piece of data has affected our results, we could be mentioning the following things. By adding this new piece of data, some of our results have changed a lot. Firstly, our spread of data, which we call the range, has increased dramatically from $32 to $297. So there is a huge spread in our data. Next, our mean, or our average income, has more than doubled. It was $20, now it's $45.45. And our median has risen just a bit from $21.50 to $25. Interestingly, our mode has not changed at all, and it's $30 for both sets of data. Based on this information, the mean is no longer a particularly good measure of the centre of the data. Let's face it, we have one person earning more than $45 and all of the other people earning less than $45. So the mean is not a good measure of the centre of the data. The median or the mode are now both better measures of the centre of this data, so we could use either of those. Finally, the new piece of data, the $300 amount, is considered to be an outlier because it is not really typical at all of the rest of the data. It's really quite unusual. Now, you don't need to write any of this down, but these are all discussion points that you could be including if you were asked to comment on your results. Okay, so wrapping up now, you need to write down your summary of a couple of sentences highlighting what the key points were of today's video, and if you have a question that you would like answered, jot it down and take it into your next lesson. Bye for now.